Hi, everybody. I and my buddy Joe English are sending our regards, and today we would like to do some ACT English section test questions together. So let's go to the ACT test and start answering some of the questions. Okay, so today the message we'll start with is entitled A Select Speaker. Gael Bud Lane says to his young granddaughter, he's using a phrase from the language of his ancestors, words so old that they were spoken thousands of years before Europeans arrived in North America. 16. At this point, the writer is considering adding the following true statement: Come here, Lane is saying to the toddler. Should the writer make this addition here? Yes, because it helps explain why Gael is one of the easiest coastal Athabascan phrases, or yes, because it provides a translation of the coastal Athabascan phrase quoted earlier. That's it, G. Because this Gael, he said at the beginning, the translation is come here. So the best answer is G. In questions where we have a prompt like this one, read the prompt carefully and then decide what is the best answer from the distractors. Okay, moving on to 17, reading 17. Yeah, fluent by only a few members of confederated tribes of Siletz Indians, given that it is the language of their ancestors. No change, or Indians B, even though it was spoken thousands of years before, or C, Indians, the little girl, or D, Indians. Remember, if you have a word like Indians here, repeated in all four choices or distractors, and one is the shortest, then most probably it is the best answer. So yes, if we read, it would say fluently by only a few members of the confederated tribes of Siletz Indians. That makes sense. This part doesn't make any, uh, addition, meaningful addition here. Like it is the language of their ancestors. Yes, he said that in the paragraph somewhere else that it was spoken thousands of years ago before even Europeans go to or arrive in North America. So this part, given that tell ancestors, is not needed here. So Indians, D is the best answer. How about number 18? All right. Here he says, as young adult, Lane moved to the land of his ancestors to learn everything he could about Siletz culture. That makes sense. So no change. F is the best answer here. There's no need to go to all the other choices that seem longer. Like, for example, since G says, since he didn't grow up on the coast of Oregon or near the Siletz Reservation. That doesn't make sense here. H, considering it was the place to do so, or J, as the purpose of his move. So F, no change, is the best answer and it makes sense. Moving on to 19, here we have a prompt again. The writer is considering deleting the preceding sentence. Should he or shouldn't he do so? That is in 19. Okay, so let's read that preceding sentence. The Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde created Oregon's first language immersion program to successfully teach the tribe's preschoolers to speak their native language, Chinooquawa. Chinooquawa. Should we keep it or should we delete it? Yeah, kept because it provides information about Chinooquawa, kept because it suggests the confederated tribes of Siletz Indians will be successful in teaching their children coastal Athabascan, or deleted because It doesn't provide information that is relevant to the paragraph's focus on Lane's background. So I think C is the best choice here. We are focusing on Lane and his background. This wouldn't enhance any of this. So C is the best answer for 19. Let's move to 20. What does he say here? Coastal Athabascan language as in small pieces of the language, but he longed to converse in it. He's talking about Lane. He learned fragments of the coastal Athabascan language as in small pieces of the language. Well, which choice provides the most specific examples of the types of fragments of the coastal Athabascan language that Lane learned? Would we leave it as it is, or G, for example, such as a few everyday phrases and lyrics to songs? I think that would be a good example of specific examples. Enough for him to be able to speak, that is a general word, something new here and there, also that's something general. So the best answer for specific examples would be if we choose G, such as everyday phrases and lyrics to songs. All right, moving on to 21. Lane convinced Nellie Orton, a tribal elder who knew the language well but never spoke it in public, to be his teacher. Yeah, so he convinced Neil Orton, a tribal elder who knew the language well. So this woman, Nellie, knew the language. So no change is the best answer. All right. Yeah. So here we choose who because it takes the place of the subject. She's the subject in that part or that phrase, that clause that says a tribal elder who knew the language. A tribal elder who knew the language. So we should say A. We should choose A as the best answer. All right, moving on to 22, reading from the beginning of 22. To be his teacher. Yeah. 22 has a prompt here. Which of the following true statements, if added here, would provide the most logical link to the information about Lane's work that follows in the next sentence? What does he do in the next sentence? He produced language CDs and created an online coastal Athabascan talking dictionary. Good. That's what he did. Let's choose a statement that nicely links to that. All right, more than half of Pacific Northwest, approximately 30 indigenous languages are already extinct, and without that doesn't make the connection. For the next 30 years, Lane recorded elders' speech and studied the coastal Athabascan language, becoming one of the tribe's most fluent speakers. So that's it, G. And it connects nicely with the sentence that follows. He produced language CDs and created a dictionary. Okay, so G is the best answer here. How about number 23, reading from 23? Yeah. Created an online coastal Athabascan talking dictionary of words that had previously existed only in the few speakers' heads. So no change. Or online coastal Athabascan, comma, talking dictionary, or C, online coastal Athabascan talking dictionary of words. So we should not put a comma after talking dictionary here. C, without any punctuation, is the best. We should not use comma before talking dictionary, or we should not use a period because it's followed by of words. So talking dictionary of words. We shouldn't also separate between dictionary of words, between the noun and then of words. using a comma. So no change is not correct, and B and D are not correct, so C is the best answer here. So moving on to 24. In 2003, the tribal council asked Lane whether he were to have started. All right, reading it again. In 2003, the tribal council asked Lane whether he were to have started language classes in the community. The council asked Lane whether he. That makes sense, so F is the best answer. There's nothing to be changed here. How about 25? Whether he would, whether he were to have started. Whether he were to have started? No, we should say whether he would start. So B is the best answer here. They asked him whether he would start language classes. Whether he would start language classes. That is the best answer. So 25B. About 26. Still, he soon resigned from his job at the local paper mill and began teaching at the Cells. Should we leave it as it is, or in the same manner, he, or nevertheless, or he? We just say he soon resigned. There's no need to use any of the connectors here, and it doesn't make sense if we say still, he soon resigned. Okay? Yeah, because he's not talking about anything related to resignation or something contradictory or anything like that. We just say he soon resigned from his job and started teaching. Okay, so J is the best answer for 26. How about 27? Okay. Um, with financial help from a grant awarded to the tribe in 2008, with these funds, Lane organized a small staff. So I think it's repetitive of what has been said before. So deleting the underlined portion D is the best answer because he says with financial help and then he says with these funds. So this financial help meaning they got funds. Okay, so there's no need to repeat what has been said again in the same sentence. Remember, on the ACT, being short and to the point is appreciated, and wordiness is not required here. So D is the best answer. Delete the underlined portion. All right, moving on to 28. Yeah. Okay. Let's read 28. There's a prompt here. Given that all the choices are accurate, which one most effectively leads readers into Lane's message in the concluding sentence? Okay, let's read the concluding sentence first. Language, he believes, is the life force of a culture, a source of stories, poetry, history, and art. So he believes that language is the life force of a culture. If you don't have a language, then the culture pass away. That's what he's basically saying. So, what, which choice actually is more effective and leads to that conclusion? All right, no change when he says in the traditions of his forebears, including medical knowledge. For Lane, a unique knowledge is embedded in the traditions of his forebears, including medical knowledge. No, no, change is not the best answer here. And his granddaughter is one of the youngest members. No, several of whom are still living. No, particularly in their language. So he's saying a unique knowledge is embedded in the traditions of his forebears, particularly in their language, because he's saying after that that if the language is preserved, then culture is preserved. If language dies out, then culture dies out. So that's the best choice. J is the best choice for 28. How about 29? 29, all right, a source of stories, poetry, history, and art. That makes sense. We don't need to change anything here. Because remember, parallelism, he's talking about stories, poetry, history, art. Stories, poetry, history, art. There's nothing to change here, so A is the best answer. How about the last question here, 30, question 30. Yeah, the writer is considering adding the following true statement to the essay. The dictionary is bilingual and includes both a written English translation of each word, blah, blah, blah. Remember, we answered the question where he's talking about he made a dictionary or a talking dictionary. We need to find a place that is most logical for adding this statement. Point A or B or C or D. Let's look at point A or B or C or D. Where's point A? He's talking about the dictionary. The dictionary. Where's point A here? Beginning of uh, the very beginning of the essay. Gayal Bud Lane says in his young to his young granddaughter, he's using a phrase from language. No, we shouldn't use. He is talking to his granddaughter here. Nothing is uh, mentioned or stated about his preparing a dictionary or anything. How about point B? Where is point B here? Yeah, he learned fragments of coastal Athabascan language, blah, 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 but he longed to converse in it. Maybe, yeah, but let's see choice C. Remember here, he already talks about producing language CDs and an online coastal Athabascan talking dictionary of words that had previously existed only in few speakers' heads. So point C would be the best place to add talking about that dictionary, what it included, and so on and so forth. So C, point C is the best answer to that question. So point C, which is answer H. Point C is answer H. So the best answer for the last question is H. As I said, remember, leave questions like these that take time to the end. They usually come near the end or at the end of the essay. Sometimes there's a question in the middle about where to put this sentence, or if we delete the previous sentence. Usually leave such questions to the end to save you a little bit of time. And my tip for you is to do some ACT exams on your own. That's a good way to prepare yourself. And like a week before you set for the actual ACT, try to time yourself when you answer the ACT test to give yourself, you know, conditions very similar to the ones that you will have in the test. And whatever happens, remember, remain calm is the only way you can get a good score on the ACT or SAT test. Good luck to everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.